All right, council colleagues, how are we feeling? It's my pleasure to convene this meeting of council held in council chambers on November 25th. We're calling the meeting to order at 6:37 p.m. I'd welcome a council colleague to read our land acknowledgement. Any takers? Thank you, Councillor Strachian.
The municipality of North Grenville acknowledges that the municipality operates on the territory of the Anishinaabe. We recognize all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples who now call North Grenville their home. We respect and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship, and we commit to Indigenous-informed decision-making to foster the path towards reconciliation.
Thank you. So just a few opening remarks that have been prepared with the help of staff. First of all, as I think council colleagues know, tomorrow, Wednesday, November 26th at 6 p.m. here in the Urbandale Arts Centre, the municipality will be hosting an open house on our new wayfinding strategy. Not happening. It has been postponed. All right, I'm so glad. Deputy Mayor, do you want to speak to the postponement, or Councillor Wilson? Do we know, as CEO Dunlop, when it is? I do not, but I can get it. Okay, so I'm happy to share that our new wayfinding strategy consultation and open house is being postponed. When it happens, it will be an opportunity for residents and business owners to preview the proposed approach to signage, navigation, and placemaking. And as you can see, we're very enthusiastic for it to begin, but appreciate that clearly it has been postponed. This morning, we did raise the Leeds and Grenville Interval House flag to mark the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and I want to acknowledge the local organizations who work every day to support women, children, and gender diverse people experiencing or at risk of violence. As a municipality, of course, we continue to advance policies and partnerships that promote safety, well-being, and dignity for everyone. And some of you know Victim Services is always available through a dedicated staff person who works largely in North Grenville for any person to explore options if they are living with or encountering violence. In terms of the holidays, there's no shortage of seasonal music and celebrations in the coming weeks. In particular, I want to highlight the Jingle Jangle Choir performance taking place this Sunday, November 30th at 2 p.m. right here in the Urbandale Theatre. It's always a joyful event, and it is supported by our Municipal Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Fund, and tickets are free with donations going to the House of Lazarus Backpack Program. Colleagues, I think, Deputy Mayor, are you in the Jingle Jangle Choir? Yes, I am. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add? You should turn on your mic, if so.
Proceeds go to House of Lazarus Backpack Program.
Indeed.
It's admission by donation.
Excellent. Thank you. As I think some of you have noted, there's a lot of craft markets and seasonal gatherings in our hamlets and neighborhoods. This Saturday, we also have the Jingle Jam Market at Southgate and the Pride Market at St. John's United, both happening on Saturday. But that's just two of a myriad of events, and a number of us had the opportunity this past weekend to attend a number of church teas, which were really lovely, in addition to the iconic St. Mike's Craft Fair, which was an incredibly busy place to be on this Saturday. But in mentioning some, I know I'm missing many others, so want to thank our community for stepping up with so many holiday events. And finally, just a note, we're doing our holiday card contest again this year. It's always such a treat to invite kids from kindergarten to 6 to submit their creative drawings. The deadline for this contest is this Friday, and the chosen submission is featured on a holiday card that is distributed within the municipality and also the community writ large. So we really appreciate all of the collaboration of schools and daycares that enable their little ones, and they're very talented artists, I might add, to submit drawings on occasion of the holidays. And with that, I'll be looking for any other events or notes. Councillor Wilson.
I have a one event that is not on anybody's radar, but for the next 2 days, there will be a group of ladies that are 60, 65 plus coming to North Grenville Arenas to do a qualifier for the Ontario Senior Games. And there's 16 teams coming to our area. So you will see a lot of senior women floating on the streets in Kempville and North Grenville and in our restaurants. And I would like to be reassured that our defibrillators are in place and that our fire services, emergency services are available. I typically play in this age group, but I'm not playing this year. Sometime I'll come back out of retirement. But if you get time, come and cheer the ladies on. They're slow but mighty.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Your Worship. And if I could just remind folks that this is also the annual Fill-A-Bag campaign. And bags were distributed to your door last Sunday afternoon, and pickup will be this Sunday afternoon. So if you're able and you received a bag, please fill it up and leave it on your front porch or at your mailbox. The instructions are all on the bags, and we will be around Sunday afternoon to pick them up. And I will try to get it done as quick as I can so I can get to the Jingle Jangle Choir concert. Yeah.
Thank you to both of you for those additions. Worthy events, no doubt, and all of the volunteers who make the Fill-A-Bag campaign possible are so impressive. I don't know how you get to 7,000 households throughout the community for the Fill-A-Bag program. It really is a gargantuan effort, and I know the Salvation Army relies on it very, very heavily, not just for the holidays, but for much of the year. So thank everyone in the community who can take the opportunity to fill a bag. Thank you. And Councillor Wilson, I very much look forward to catching a game. Those women may be slower than they once were, but I'm sure they're faster than I would be, so, and very skilled. So with that, colleagues, I will look to the adoption of the agenda. You'll note we have 2 amendments. One is a letter of opposition on the closure of the Kempville Health Unit. And I did consult the clerk about how to create an opportunity for discussion around this item. And apart from a notice of motion, which we couldn't discuss tonight, her advice was that the letter that I have now authored can be placed on correspondence, and certainly we can have a discussion about any feedback you might have and how we can pursue some collective advocacy. So I'll leave it there. It's rather time sensitive because the Southeast Health Unit Board meeting is tomorrow at noon. And secondly, I understand that we are addressing a revised resolution, if I'm not mistaken, in regards to the Old Town Kempville BIA significant resolution. We will also adjust, no, we've done that. Okay, so those are the 2 amendments, is that right? Okay, you're welcome to say that because I don't think I caught that entirely.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. We are asking this evening that we pull the notice of motion K12 regarding the Old Town Kempville BIA to after the deputation.
Okay, understood. Okay. So colleagues, that's the agenda this evening. Can I look for a mover and a seconder? Councillor Wilson, Councillor Sullivan. Thank you very much. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Thank you. So next are declarations of community interest and general nature thereof, and I'll look to Councillor Wilson. Yes.
I declare a conflict with items G3, K, and K12 regarding the Old Town Kempville BIA.
Okay. So that has been noted. Ms. Boss, is there anything else we need to do at this stage?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, we will separate item G3 out from the consent agenda so that Councillor Wilson can recuse from voting.
Okay. And the protocol, I know you're a new clerk and every clerk has their own way of doing things. So the protocol for Councillor Wilson in terms of discussion or debate on the item for which she has declared a conflict is she can stay around the table, just refrain from voting?
Thank you. Yes, you may remain at your seat, but you cannot in any way persuade or participate in the discussion around the item.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So with that, I think we have a deputation, and of course, I believe we have members of the Old Town BIA here to speak to the resolution on the agenda this evening. And I do have another mayor calling me about the closure of the Kemptville Health Unit. So forgive me, I'll put my phone on silent. Yeah, I know. I feel the same.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Peckford and councillors. Thank you for having us here this evening. We are very excited to share our expansion proposal. We're here because the Old Town Kemptville BIA has a clear and enduring goal: to keep downtown Kemptville the charming, vibrant heart of our community, one that supports a strong business environment and fosters economic development. Together, we can ensure our downtown continues to grow, attract new opportunities, and remain a place where both residents and visitors feel at home. In the downtown core, we are incredibly proud of our small town roots and the warm, approachable spirit that makes our community so unique. Our BIA was established in 2006 with the traditional mandate of enhancing commercial and property value while supporting and promoting the businesses along Prescott and Clothier Streets. Officially, we're the Old Town Kemptville BIA, but most people know us simply as Downtown Kemptville, because that's exactly who we are. We're the collective voice of our historic small town core. This evening, we are here to discuss the proposed expansion of our BIA boundaries, an exciting step that would allow us to include more of the businesses that already help shape the identity of downtown. At present, our BIA represents businesses and property owners primarily along Prescott and Clothier streets. But we know our broader downtown business community has a remarkable opportunity to connect, collaborate, and grow. Our proposed expansion would formally include nearby areas that already contribute to the vibrancy of downtown, and in many cases are already benefiting informally from the BIA's efforts. Tonight's presentation will outline what expansion would mean, why it is being considered, and how it can benefit both current and future members. We will also demonstrate how the BIA has fulfilled its responsibilities throughout the expansion process, including extensive outreach and consultation with the businesses and property owners within the proposed expanded area to ensure strong, informed support. Next slide, please.
So I'm going to speak, I'll go this way. I'm going to speak to why we have this footprint and why we're looking to expand it. So as you can see, it currently goes down Saunders Street, Brito Street, and Prescott Street, as well as Clothier. And it's important in identifying this footprint because it gives exposure to the awesome businesses that we have in the downtown core, because there is truly a large business presence and vibrancy beyond County Road 43. And we want people to know that for sure. And there's for example, there's families that have come to Kemptville that live in Equinell and the surrounding subdivisions. And there was one family that said until they attended a downtown BIA event, they did not know that there was retail beyond the high visibility that County Road 43 businesses have. So it is really important to connect that and for people to see all that's offered downtown. So do we have, I was just wondering if we had the expanded footprint there, but that's okay. So where we're looking to expand is to take down Prescott Street all the way down to where the funeral home is at Concession, and also include up Van Buren Street to Bridge Street, and extending it all the way up to where the flower shop is at County Road 43. I think, yep, that'll encompass all of it.
Next slide.
Yep.
Scooch right here. All right, so I just wanted to run through the process of how the BIA came to be in this position of asking for expansion. The BIA established a dedicated steering committee to explore potential expansion boundaries and lead public consultation. Our task force, created in 2023, began hosting informal sessions on October 8th, 2024, and by this September was holding twice weekly office hours for the purpose of expansion discussion. Task force members also visited the majority of businesses within the proposed expansion area to share information, explain our intentions, and personally invite owners to participate in all the fall meetings we conducted. To ensure consistent communication, we launched an expansion newsletter distributed to both businesses and property owners in the current and proposed BIA footprint, helping keep all prospective members fully informed. On November 5th, we held a public meeting to present and discuss our expansion prospectus. Based on the feedback gathered during individual outreach and the November session, we are extremely pleased to report that the vast majority of businesses are not only supportive of expansion, but genuinely enthusiastic and eager about the opportunity to become BIA members. Next slide. Oh, just me. So to provide a little bit of context, I will outline the purpose and role of the BIA. We are a nonprofit organization funded by a modest levy on commercial properties within our footprint, along with grants and sponsorships. Every single dollar goes right back into strengthening our local business community. Through advocacy, beautification, events, and marketing, the BIA works to increase property values and support businesses. Through advocacy, we ensure local businesses have a voice with the municipality and other levels of government, and through our provincial network on issues that matter. Through beautification, we invest in flowers, banners, and public spaces that reflect the pride we all take in our community, creating a downtown that's not just beautiful, but welcoming and walkable. Through events like Buskerfest, Old Town Christmas, which is this Saturday, Creepy Kempville, the South Branch Serenade, and the Bunny Hop, we bring thousands of people downtown each year, reminding everyone that local business is at the heart of community life. And as Marianne said, often new members to the community first are exposed to downtown through these events. And through marketing, we shine a spotlight on our members, promoting them in newsletters, social media, and shop local campaigns that drive real results. This relationship allows for very important cross-marketing and cross-promotion. This past weekend, we hosted Ladies' Night, which was spearheaded by one of our businesses, but deeply supported by the BIA. And the amount of collaboration that took place and the success of that event is exactly what we're here for. Now, as Kempville grows, it's time for our BIA to grow along and naturally extend beyond its traditional borders to the areas that connect us to the rest of Kempville. Expanding our footprint means more collaboration, more shared success, and a stronger voice for all the businesses that make Kempville's downtown such a special place. By joining together under one umbrella, we can plan strategically, promote collectively, and ensure our unique, warm, small-town charm and sense of community continue to be at the forefront of what people love about Kempville. Next slide, please.
So I'm going to move this over first. I'm going to speak a bit with regards to finance. So for years, our BIA has operated with one of the smallest levies in all of Ontario. And the BIA levies are only paid on the commercial portion of the assessment, not on the residential portion. And so any residential properties in the footprint are not affected. And we've stretched every dollar, and every executive director has consistently gone above and beyond, often working and volunteering more hours than they're paid for just to keep things running, and they believe so strongly in the cause. So since 2024, the COVID recovery funds from the municipality have been winding down, and they'll end completely in 2027. Without expanding, we simply won't be able to maintain the current level of support that we have for our members and what we provide for downtown. Expansion would increase our annual levy from $36,500 to an estimated $75,000. That would allow us to continue with a full-time executive director, the possibility of a summer student and all the support they provide, and grow our budget for things like beautification and to maintain the reserves we need to operate responsibly. An increase in membership means that more businesses will be working together, pooling resources, which is key to the downtown commercial area. By identifying the expanded downtown footprint, it also allows many businesses and small mom and pop shops and family businesses that are all part of Kemptville's amazing downtown charm and character. It allows them to be seen, receive support, and have a joint voice and representation in their future success. Next slide.
All right, so just to end, I wanted to thank you again for your time and attention this evening. As you've heard throughout the presentation, our proposed expansion is not just about drawing new lines on a map, it's about recognizing how our downtown Kemptville has naturally grown, how our businesses are already interconnected, and how much stronger we can be when we plan, promote, and succeed together. The Old Town Kemptville BIA has fulfilled all requirements of the expansion process with care, transparency, and respect. We've consulted extensively with businesses and property owners. We've listened to their ideas and concerns, and we are proud to share that support for expansion is overwhelmingly positive. The businesses we engaged with see the value of joining the BIA, and many are eager to be formally included in the work that is already benefiting them and the broader community. Expanding our boundaries will allow us to strengthen our advocacy, enhance our beautification efforts, bring more people downtown, and create even greater economic opportunity, all while preserving the warm, small-town charm that defines Kemptville. It will ensure that the businesses contributing to the heart and energy of our core are represented, supported, and connected under one unified voice. Tonight, we respectfully ask for your consideration and support as we take this meaningful next step. Together, we can continue building a vibrant, welcoming, and thriving downtown, one that grows with intention, reflects our community values, and remains a place that we're all proud to call home. As we move forward, timely next steps are essential. It is important that the expansion letters are sent out soon, as property owners will have 60 days to respond once the formal notice is issued. To maintain the strong momentum we've built through consultation and outreach, we are hopeful that this process can proceed promptly. With Council's support, we hope to complete the expansion process early in the new year and begin working as a truly unified downtown community. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful presentation. So I'll go to council colleagues for any comments or questions. Councilor Strachan.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you both for the presentation. I know you've worked on this very hard. We've heard about it at length from the Deputy Mayor over the years. So I know that a lot of time and energy has gone into this. I have one question regarding the process, the next steps. Do you need a certain percentage of the businesses to respond in order for this expansion to take place? Is there a threshold that has to be met? I know you've said overwhelming support, but I'm just wondering if there's a more precise number. Thank you.
So the process is defined by the Municipal Act, is my understanding. Sorry, I might not be the true expert on this. What happens once the letters are sent out is property owners have the opportunity to send back concerns. And I believe that for expansion to take place, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we can receive no more than 30 or 33% property owners stating that they are not interested in becoming a member of, or, you know, increasing the expansion area, if that makes sense.
Does that answer your question? Okay, Deputy Mayor, do you have anything else to add in regards to that? Okay. Other questions, colleagues? Can I just drill down on the map? So obviously the boundaries are being expanded. So can you describe some of the new businesses that would be in this expanded footprint, if you don't mind?
For sure. Earlier, I had mentioned Saunders Street, but that's part of the new expansion.
Right.
The old one was just Rideau Street, Clothier Street, up to Graham's Bakery, and Prescott Street as far as the current Home Hardware, where the old Oddfellows Hall was, where he has Danny's businesses now. And then Prescott Street all the way down to the,
Concession?
yeah, Concession Road, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Van Buren to Bridge Street. So where the
Gotcha.
truck center, I guess it was Tolman, now it's the Rush Truck Center, and RPM Automotive would be included as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in your public engagement and sort of business outreach exercises, clearly some of those newer businesses that would be impacted
Yep.
and welcomed into a expanded BIA have provided some feedback and seem generally supportive?
Yeah, we just, when we just had our public, or general meeting and was open to the public, there was representation from Van Buren Street, also from the current, the former high school, one of the commercial businesses in there as well, and right up to including Jen LaBelle. So we've kind of got representation from almost every street of expansion for, in favor.
Oh, great. Perfect. And how many more businesses would be included with this new footprint? Have you,
There is a number. I'm trying to think if I can recall what it is.
does it double? the
It's
number of
more than
businesses?
double.
It more than doubles?
More than
Okay.
double.
Oh, so it's a significant
Yeah.
expansion, I guess, of a growing commercial sector, right?
Yeah.
Which, so I assume the expansion sort of aligns with how the commercial district will say, right, it has evolved for what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. It certainly seems more intuitive, right, to try to bring them all together under one roof, so to speak, of course. All right. So council colleagues, is there anything else at this stage? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wondered if the representatives from the BIA could read their resolution that they passed on the 19th. Do you have it handy? Maybe you could read it into the record. Thanks.
This right here. Okay. All right. So whereas the OTK BIA Board of Management passed a resolution on November 19th, 2025, supporting the following. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001, Chapter 25? Is that what I'm supposed, no?
Just, and to be clear, there's a motion for us to consider as well, right? So perhaps, Deputy Mayor, you're looking for the motion that was presented to members and prospective members of the BIA? Oh, okay. So the motion is ours to move in second. Of course, we can invite our delegation, once we've completed the delegation, to move to the consideration of the motion. But before that, I just want to make sure that there are no other questions. Oh, your mic, please.
The reason I'd like it read into the record is that my motion is much shorter than their motion, and I think it's worth at least for them to repeat the whereas section.
Okay, well, certainly we can invite, certainly our deputation to read a draft of the motion for consideration by council. Is that okay, Ms. Boss? Are we speaking of the same two motions? They're separate. Okay, so we're not dealing with the motion that's being, that will be considered by council. We're inviting our colleagues to read into the record what was considered and adopted by the Old Town BIA. Is that correct? Okay, great.
So sorry, just to confirm, I was reading the correct. This one. Oh, okay, sorry. Read this one? Okay. Significant resolution to North Granville Council regarding OTK BIA boundary expansion. Whereas the Board of Management of the Old Town Kemptville Business Improvement Area, OTK BIA, struck an expansion task force in 2024 to gauge the interest among existing and prospective OTK BIA members in expanding its boundaries. And whereas the expansion task force conducted a series of information meetings, including twice weekly, open houses in September and October of 2025, culminating in a general members meeting open to the public on November 5th, 2025. And whereas a boundary expansion prospectus was created and distributed via email to existing members of the OTK BIA, prospective members, and made available to members and the public via email, newsletters, social media, and the OTK BIA website. And whereas the response to the OTK BIA's boundary expansion plans, as outlined in its boundary expansion prospectus, has received overwhelming support, receiving a unanimous endorsement during a non-binding vote at the general members meeting of November 5th, 2025, from both existing members and prospective members and the public attending. Therefore, it can be resolved that pursuant to the Municipal Act 2021, and there was other numbers, the Board of Management of the Old Town Kemptville Business Improvement Area, OTK BIA, requests the Council of the Municipality of North Granville to enact a bylaw to change the boundaries of the OTK BIA per Schedule A and to change the name of the OTK BIA to the Downtown Kemptville Business Improvement Area. Be it further resolved that in accordance with subsection 208(3) of the Municipal Act, the Board of Management of the Old Town Kemptville Business Improvement Area requests the establishment of a special charge that would cap the levy for an individual commercial property owner at no more than 3% of the total commercial levies assessed annually for the period of 3 years following the approval of the boundary expansion.
Great, thank you. No problem at all. Forgive me for my confusion. I think it was mine. So thank you very much. I understand it's been a elaborate, comprehensive, painstaking process to do it well, to do it right. And of course, when you expand any BIA, you're guided by the Municipal Act and some of the limitations therein. So I think the lead up, from what I can tell, certainly has been very carefully considered. So are there any other questions, colleagues? Councillor Sullivan?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, through you to our deputation. The cap at 3%, that is for all members, the new ones and the existing members, and for 3 years, is that correct? Cap
Correct.
And what is it currently now?
There isn't a cap. It's a percentage of assessed value per 100. Sorry.
Okay.
But it's there's a very specific calculation, and what we're proposing is that we cap it at 3%.
So is it currently more than 3%?
No, it's not.
No. Okay. So it's 3% tops. It may be less than that. Is that correct?
Yes. And it's the reason for that is for the larger businesses, say B&H, for an example, they would have a very high commercial levy. So if it wasn't capped, their levy would be extremely excessive for the number of businesses that would be needing the resources of the BIA.
Okay.
Whereas the individual average, I think from what I remember, most businesses pay around 300 or so for just a small average business. But that would be significant for a large commercial assessment.
Okay. Thank you. It just clarifies the understanding. Thank you.
Great. Anything else, colleagues? So I just want to say I too, it resonated with me when you shared that anecdote of certain residents not really understanding there was a commercial district in our downtown until they came out for any one of the myriad of events that are now hosted in our downtown. So certainly want to extend our appreciation for your leadership and for the work you do to really highlight the visibility of the downtown. And I know the municipality works in lockstep with you on certain things, and the new lights in Rotary Park, which was at the request of the BA, and thank you so much for making that suggestion, have really lit up the downtown in a new way. So every year I think we get a little bit better. But I was reminded that another event to celebrate, of course, this weekend is the Old Town Christmas BIA on Saturday from 10 to 1. And it was, as some of you know, it was my first event ever in Kemptville with not even 3 kids. At that time, I only had 2, and I was expecting our 3rd. And we moved in on a Friday, and that weekend I went to the Old Town Kemptville BIA Christmas event and was able to introduce my kids to their new home and their new community. So we had made at that time a deliberate decision to live in the downtown because we felt it was walkable, and we wanted to get to know a new community in a very particular kind of way. So I believe as our County Road 43 district evolves and changes and new businesses come into that area, having a vibrant, robust Old Town BIA makes all kinds of sense. So certainly I thank you very much for your endeavors, and I know as a council we will continue to engage with you and ensure the municipality is a good partner. And I know to date we've worked so incredibly well together. So if there's nothing else, colleagues, I can read the motion for our consideration this evening. You can stay where you are until that process is done. Are there any other questions for our delegation? All right, so we'll move on. Ms. Boss, you correct me if I'm moving too quickly, but as I understand it, Deputy Mayor, you're going to introduce the motion for council's consideration this evening?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the following. Whereas the Old Town Kemptville BIA Board of Management passed a resolution on November 19th, 2025, supporting the following. Now, therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to Municipal Act 2001 C25 S209, that the Council of the Municipality of North Grenville directs staff to bring forward a bylaw to change the boundaries of the Old Town Kemptville BIA per the significant resolution passed by the Old Town Board of Management, and be it further resolved that staff be directed to change the name of the Old Town Kemptville BIA to the Downtown Business Improvement Area, and be it finally resolved that in accordance with subsection 208(3) of the Municipal Act, Council directs staff to establish a maximum special charge that would cap the levy for any individual commercial property owner at no more than 3% of the total commercial levies assessed annually for the period of 3 years following the approval of the boundary expansion. Thank you.
So, seconder, Councilor Sullivan, thank you. Okay, and now that the motion's on the table, I'll welcome any questions or comments. Councilor Strachan.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just for clarification, and I'm not sure who can answer this, but right now we're asking for an expansion of the boundaries ahead of the decision being made by the businesses in the expanded area. Is that correct? The order of this seems not quite right in my mind, but I'm happy to be corrected.
Happy to attempt an answer. This initiates a process whereby the clerk's office will be sending out registered letters to all the building owners, giving them 30 days prescribed, 60 days, sorry, wow, prescribed to respond with what's been proposed here, the expansion, the bylaw expansion. Should we have more than 33 1/3% opt out, then it dies.
Councilor Strachan.
Just to continue in this thought, Madam Mayor, so the resolution doesn't speak to the letter or asking for any of that to take place prior to the expansion. So we're actually asking for the expansion, and I guess the rest of that is happening in the background. So I think I'm not sure if the resolution needs to emphasize something different, or if we should be waiting to hold off on the expansion of the limits until the vote has taken place effectively.
You'd have to talk to the province about that. You'll see that this resolution contains a lot of reference to the Municipal Act. So we're strictly following the section of the Municipal Act that prescribes how we expand a BIA. And this is one of the steps.
So this resolution is based on direction from the province. It says we have to ask for the expanded boundary before any communication happens, and it has to be approved before a vote takes place. Is that correct?
Well, I don't have the Municipal Act in front of me, but basically,
That's,
Yes.
the
So I think
answer,
Ms.
yes.
Boss,
Thank you.
as our clerk, can provide some insight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, the resolution does read that council is directing staff to bring forward the bylaw to change the boundaries. By passing this resolution this evening, staff would have the direction needed to proceed with sending those letters on the proposed expansions. Without the support of this resolution, staff wouldn't prepare the work under Section 210 of the Municipal Act, which says that we need to provide notice. If that provides any clarification to your question.
I can live with that. Thank you.
It's a good question. It's a very complex process, and as I understand it, Ms. Boss, quite prescribed by the Municipal Act. Okay. Anything else? Seeing nothing? Do we have a seconder? Did we get a second? Yes, Councillor Sullivan, thank you. Okay. So if there's nothing else, then I'm going to call the question. All in favor? All right. That carries. Thank you for your work and good luck on the next step. I know the clerk's office, is it the clerk's office who prepares the letters? So they come from the municipality? Gotcha. Okay. So next, colleagues, thank you again. Next, we have our consent agenda. As you can see, there are 4 items for consideration under the consent agenda. As per previous discussion with our CEO and clerk, I would like to pull number 4, which is the business licensing bylaw. Any other amendments? Right. Okay. So even under the, okay, great. So Ms. Boss has reminded us that for consideration of consent, we'll have to remove number 3, which is Old Town Kemptville BIA, and consider that matter separately as a potential consent item because Councillor Wilson remains in conflict on this issue. So looking at an amended consent agenda, I think all we're left with is number 1 and 2, recognizing that 4 is being pulled for discussion and 3 will be its own matter. If there's just one item under consent, is it still a consent item? No, I understand 1 and 2, but how do we treat number 3? As a separate matter? For consent or for a non-consent item? Non-consent item. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so we just have 1 and 2 remaining. Hello?
With respect, I challenged removing 3. Why would,
Because Councillor
Councillor-
Wilson would be eligible to vote, but I
yes,
defer to you, Ms.
but
Boss.
she is eligible to vote when we're appointing people to the BIA board.
No, we are considering the,
Through you, Mayor, to you, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah.
The councillor has declared a conflict with the agenda item. So to participate in the vote for the first 2 items, which is G1 and G2, we would have to separate it.
Okay.
so once the declaration of conflict is made, it is what it is, right? Even if there might be varying opinions on whether or not it's a conflict. Okay, so I'm looking for a mover and a seconder for items 1 and 2 on the consent agenda. Thank you, Councillor Strachan. And I need someone over here. Thank you, Councillor O'Sullivan. And I will call the question. All in favor? Great, thank you. So Ms. Boss, where do you want me to put number 3? We'll just, okay. And it does appear on the agenda, there is a reference to this one appointment, if I'm not mistaken. And can you remind me, it is item G3, gotcha. Under consent, right, so that's where we find the documentation. Okay, Old Town Kemptville Board of Management nomination, colleagues. You'll see that the recommendation is that the Council of the Municipality of North Grenville appoint Amanda Lang to the, are we still calling it the Old Town Kemptville BIA for now? Okay, Board of Management. So I'll look for a mover and a seconder, Councillor Strakian, Deputy Mayor. All right, Strakian and Deputy Mayor. Any comments or questions? All right. So if there are none, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? Great, thank you. So Ms. Boss, will we proceed to number 4 at this stage? Okay. So next, colleagues, is the business licensing bylaws. We have Mr. Baribeau here this evening to do, I think, a quick overview, and then we can have a discussion from there.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before council is a report in regards to amending or creating new bylaws to replace the current licensing bylaws and the open air bylaws. Next slide, please. The recommendation before council would be repeal bylaw number 10415, which is the current licensing bylaw, and enact new bylaws that will regulate transient traders, refreshment vehicles, door-to-door sales, and open-air fires, all in our separate bylaws. Included in the recommendation would be to amend the AMPS bylaw 107-24 to include relevant contraventions and penalty amounts for each of those bylaws. Next slide, please. In the history in regards to these bylaws, in 2012, bylaw number 3312 enacted the current open-air fire regulations. The boundary lines in Schedule A, which are the prohibited areas for an open-air fire, have not been adjusted since that time. The new bylaw will address that. In 2015, bylaw 104-15 established a consolidated licensing bylaw. Since that time, several amendments have been made to each individual schedule or licensing type throughout the years. And as you remember, in 2024, the municipality adopted the AMPS framework through bylaw 107-24. Next slide, please. The key amendments and the changes is creating a standalone and updated bylaws for the transient traders, refreshment vehicles, and door-to-door sales. Currently, they're all in one bylaw, separated by different schedules. The open-air fire bylaw, we will be repealing and replacing current bylaw with modernized wording and structure, and updating the boundary lining in Schedule A of the prohibited open-air fires. All these bylaws, if adopted by council, would be integrated into the AMP system under bylaw 107-24, and would include all the appropriate contraventions and penalty amounts. Next slide, please. And the benefits of the amendments: administrative efficiency. It would simplify licensing processes that are adaptable, improve clarity for public and staff. It would improve enforcement, transition to local AMPS model, and the penalty revenue would be retained within a municipality compared to the existing, which is through the POA court out of Brockville. Future flexibility. Each individual bylaw will be easier to update as we go forward, and it increases safety, or public safety, for each of those bylaws. Next slide, please. In conclusion, these changes modernize municipal regulations, strengthen local enforcement capacity, align with strategic goals for continuous improvement. Any questions?
Thank you very much. As I think you've been apprised, Mr. Baribeau, certainly our new clerk has advised us that there's an opportunity in certain matters of policy to refer to our committees, and you know we have a number, and I think by virtue of the businesses licensing bylaws in particular, I would have an interest in referring those to our Community Economic Development Advisory Committee, who I think would be well positioned to provide a bit of feedback and engage with some of the provisions under the amended bylaws. Of course, AMPS is a new system, and it's incredibly efficient, as I think we've all learned. It allows revenue to stay within the municipality versus, as you've noted, protracted court processes out of Brockville. So all good things, but I think there's an opportunity here to get some important feedback from the community through, in particular, our Community Economic Development Advisory Committee. So looking to council colleagues for any comments? Yes, Councillor Strahan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To you, Mr. Baribeau, regarding fireworks, was there any consideration given to that? I understand that an open fire needs to be put in place and there would be a permit required for that. But given that fireworks add an additional layer to the possible risk given the conditions and so on, and that they're airborne and can land beyond the area of where the permit is granted, was there any consideration given to that in looking at the open air bylaw, fire bylaw, I'm sorry, can't remember what the title is, but the fire bylaw to incorporate considerations for maybe additional permitting or anything else for fireworks? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Through you, Madam Mayor. Currently, the fireworks are regulated through the noise bylaw. Some municipalities also create individual bylaws. That is something that we could always discuss if directed by council. For the open air fire bylaw, it was not considered. It was in consultation with the fire department to meet their requirements, their needs, and I don't believe we had those discussions at this time.
Through you, Madam Mayor, is there any possibility of adding that consideration in at this time if we're looking to delay the approvals of this as suggested by the mayor, that we could consider whether or not fireworks should be included in this bylaw, since it dovetails into the open fire permitting process?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Madam Mayor. That can be considered, and of course, we could always consider creating a new bylaw or bring it to council for review and see if it might be easier that way to regulate because of different regulations, maybe federally, that we have to consider. But we can have those discussions at that time, for sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a comment before I make the motion that you're looking for. There's lots to be said about the AMP system, the advantages of it and the benefits to it, but it is a new system, and I think it would be good to get some feedback from, in this case, the CDAC, one of the advisory committees, about how it might be received by the public, because it is a very different system in terms of how it interfaces with the public, and I think maybe they might have some suggestions. They might even suggest some other bylaws that need to be incorporated into it. Well, and certainly they'll have a lot to say about, I think, how it's communicated to the public, like the communication plan. I know that we usually include some sort of communication plan, but I think having their feedback would be great. So I would move to refer it to the Community Economic Development Advisory Committee. Thanks.
Looking for a seconder? Councillor Wilson, thank you. And I think for the purposes of the referral, which at this time includes the open air bylaw, I think if you've changed the map considerably, it would be important to ensure that the changes to the map are reflected. We see a new map, but I don't think we know what the changes are. Certainly, I understand that many people in North Grenville who are living in rural areas value the opportunity to have a fire in their backyards. It's a big part of their quality of life. So you've presented a new map, but I don't think there's any comparison of what was and what is being proposed. So I wonder if that information can also be captured and articulated as part of the referral to the committee. I know, Ms. Boss, in discussing this with you earlier, certainly in addition to referral to the committee, I think we would like to ask that feedback from the committee. Obviously, Mr. Baribeau, hopefully you'll be there and can capture some of that feedback, but that feedback also be directed back to the council table at the time when the bylaws would return. So all of my council colleagues would get the benefit of any discussion that happens at the CDAC table. I don't know how you captured that in a motion, Ms. Boss, but I'll leave it to you. And I think we were looking to the end of February. We do have CDAC meetings in January and February, so I think the first Monday of the month, so I think that gives everyone adequate time. And of course, if you need a bit longer, I'm sure that we can work that out. Okay, any other comments on this one, colleagues? Ms. Boss, do you want to read the motion back as you understand it?
Of course. Through you, Mayor, to council, the motion that I have drafted reads that council refers staff report PD 2025-064 business licensing bylaw to this CDAC to report back to council by the end of February on the proposed bylaws and changes, including comments on the open air fires bylaw, potentially including fireworks, and the changes made to the maps in the open air fires bylaw.
Of course, any feedback on any of the bylaws would be welcome, but also that would be inclusive of the open air fires bylaw. Okay. Mover, are you satisfied? Great. Any other comments or questions? Okay. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Okay. Thank you. Thanks for being here this evening, Mr. Baribeau. Okay, so moving on. I believe that we're now tackling the supplemental information on voting methods. And again, have I missed this item? Minutes. Sorry, I thought they were in consent. I apologize. So we do have 2 sets of minutes for approval this evening, colleagues. That's the minutes of the following meetings: November 10th, 2025, special council meeting, and November 12th, 2025, regular council meeting. Can I look to a mover and a seconder for the adoption of those minutes? Councillor Sullivan and Councillor Strachan, thank you. Any comments or questions? Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Calling a vote. Are we in favor? Good. Okay. Okay, so next we're moving on to supplemental information on voting methods, municipal and school boards election 2026. And Ms. Boss, I know you've newly arrived, but I just want to thank you for tackling this one so quickly. You bring lots of experience from past clerk roles, so we appreciate you diving in on this one and answering some of the unresolved questions that I believe that council had during the last discussion. So over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to council, tonight's report includes supplemental information on the voting methods report that was presented to council in August. In reviewing the records related to the 2022 municipal and school board elections, I can confirm that a hybrid election was conducted using in-person voting with tabulators and internet and telephone voting. There was some confusion around the use of mail-in ballots at the 2022 election, but I can confirm they were not a voting method approved by council in 2022. In the report, there is information on the voting methods and turnout of the last 4 elections and a detailed cost breakdown of the 2022 election. The recommendation, as included in the agenda, is to continue with the voting methods used in the previous elections, using paper ballots with tabulators, internet, and telephone voting as the methods for the 2026 municipal and school board elections. If that recommendation is supported by council this evening, I will prepare and bring back any necessary bylaws to authorize the use of vote counting technology and alternative voting methods at the next regular council meeting. This is timely because it will enable me to work on procurement of election services, softwares, and hardwares for the next election that is under a year from now. So at this time, I'd be happy to address any questions on the report. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Might I ask, in the data that has been provided, paper ballots with tabulators in 2022 was 40.7%. And then there's a reference to, it's the total vote turnout. So it's a cumulative. And to that end, is there a breakdown? Is it also in this report if I missed it? Maybe Ms. Boss, you can speak to the breakdown for the 2022 election. I apologize.
Yes, of course. Through you, Mayor. Table 1, the summary of municipal elections. In 2022, the total voter turnout was 40.7%, representing 5,857 voters. Of those, 1,244, representing 1% of the votes cast used the paper ballots with tabulator method. The majority, so 79% or 4,613 voters, used the internet and telephone voting. I could not find the data for 2018, I do apologize, but where I could find it for 2014 and 2010, they are also included in Table 1.
Thank you. I see the right attachment now, so I appreciate that. Any questions, colleagues? Yes, Deputy Mayor?
Not a question, thank you, Madam Mayor, but I guess to the clerk, it was fascinating, Schedule B, to go through it and see how every other municipality in Ontario does it, and it's all over the map, certainly. And so I found that fascinating. So thanks for including that.
I would only note, this is a recollection from the last election, that due to some postal disruption and new postal systems, I remember there being considerable delays in the delivery of the cards required for internet and telephone voting. At the time, we were told that until the electors list is finalized, those cards cannot be sent out. And it's in rather close proximity now. And as a consequence, no matter who you're voting for, everyone in North Granville looks forward to getting one of those cards so that they have that option to exercise their vote in whatever way they choose. And Ms. Boss, you weren't here the last time, so I'm curious to know if you have any reflections on that piece of how we ensure people are equipped to vote in whatever way, using whatever method they choose, recognizing that Canada Post perhaps increasingly is, I think there was once an assumption that if you mailed cards to the Kemptville Post Office, they were distributed right away, but I understand it's a very circuitous route now, which can represent a lot of delays.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. You've highlighted a concern with all of the elections in this province and country is the reliance on the postal system. As you mentioned, the preliminary list of electors doesn't get delivered to us until the end of August. We then have a number of weeks to provide supplementary changes through forms and people attending the office before we provide our list of changes to Elections Ontario and get what is considered the voting list. As you can see, if you take a couple weeks from August and voting opens in the middle of October, we do run on a timeline as prescribed under the Municipal Election Act to get those voter information letters out. I can speak to, we do host voting help centers located at the Municipal Center and potentially throughout the community, where people who do not receive or have not received their voter information letter would be able to be issued a voter information letter on the spot. Municipalities across Ontario have also provided for electronic meetings to prove identity and to issue voters information letters through Zoom or over the phone, depending on the verification of identity. So those items have been addressed in the last 4 years related to that delay in the postal system with voter information letters.
And I think what I appreciate about your comment, recognizing the constraints, which are considerable, is that if there's someone who's mobility impaired or cannot come into the municipal center to receive that voting card, I'm hearing you say that perhaps, based upon the best practices of other municipalities, there may be an identity validation or verification system that could be done via Zoom, as an example, or other technologies, so that person could still access the information that they otherwise would have received through the mail, correct? Okay. Councillor Strachan, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To our clerk, have we considered any other alternate means of delivering that are not Canada Post? I understand they may be cost prohibitive, but it would be good to know if that assessment has been done.
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Mayor. At this time, due to cost and time constraints with our 14,000 electors and households, aside from the postal system, there really is limitations on delivering those voter information letters. But if any municipality or Elections Ontario or Elections Canada comes up with anything else in the meantime, I will gladly look into it for the municipal election.
Okay, great. So colleagues, with that in mind, obviously the recommendation is that Report CEO 2025-034-2026, supplemental information on voting methods, municipal and school board election 2026 be received for information, that council adopts paper ballots with tabulators, internet and telephone as the voting methods for the 2026 municipal and school board elections, and further that the municipal clerk be directed to bring forward a bylaw to authorize the alternative voting methods supported by council to the next regular council meeting. Mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Appreciate that. I see your hand this time. Anyone else? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I'm reminded that it was Mr. Cal Pominville that I think in a very forward-looking way introduced these alternative voting methods, which, as you've said, Deputy Mayor, are a bit of a patchwork across the province. But I think he had a lot of foresight in seeing that a large geographic municipality coming together needed, that the constituents of this newly amalgamated municipality needed a number of different options when it came to casting their vote. So I really salute him for his leadership in that regard. Council, our motion is on the table. If there's nothing else, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Thank you. It is carried. All right, Ms. Martin, you're next.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. This evening, I am pleased to have Megan Reddy from Dillon Consulting joining us. I will be doing the bulk of the presentation, but Megan is here in a support capacity as we go through our official plan process. So this evening, staff are pleased to present our What We Heard report from our public consultation efforts that occurred throughout September and October. I would like to remind council and the public that this process began more than a year ago. In 2024, prior to the engaging of the official plan update process, staff, with the assistance of Dillon Consulting, undertook extensive community consultation to identify key community priorities, discover where there may be concerns related to growth, and to get a sense of what matters most to our North Grenville residents, centered around the themes of living, working, and playing within the municipality. Last year's consultation included a dedicated website with an online mapping tool, community survey, attendance at community events such as the Farmers Market and Kempville Live, attendance at various advisory committees for a total of 7, staff workshop, individual council interviews, 2 community open houses, and 3 virtual community roundtables, each focused on one of the 3 themes that we explored last year. The outcome of this consultation was presented to council in a report in November of 2024. The community survey was well utilized with over 372 respondents. The open house held at the Municipal Centre was largely successful with 32 residents compared to 1 resident at the open house held in Oxford Mills. Attendance at community events allowed for staff and the consultants to interact with the public and provide more information on the project. The virtual workshops, which there was a total of 3, were not as popular, with an average of 3 to 4 attendees per workshop. Dillon Consulting was successful in the request for proposal process to undertake the update of our official plan. This builds off of the consultation that was undertaken last year, and Dillon Consulting and staff have undertaken additional consultation ahead of policy development as a means of checking in with the community and to verify the results of the earlier consultation. This included meeting with the advisory committees over the course of 4 different meetings, and the committees were grouped together based on common themes that emerged from their groups during the 2024 additional consultation process. A public information center was held on October 22nd with approximately 23 individuals attending, although we do acknowledge that not all individuals signed in the sheet, so that is just our best guess at this point as to how many were in attendance, but I do believe that we had a few more than 23 here. It was quite a full house. There were 5 stakeholder sessions held as well, and these stakeholders were identified in consultation with staff and identified in our consultation and engagement strategy. And this included different industries, agencies, and the development sector within North Grenville. There was also a Planners on Planning session with staff that occurred on October 30th, and in attendance was a representative from every department. So we really dove down into some of the things that staff are finding with our current official plan and talked about what we see as North Grenville grows over the planning horizon to 2051. As part of the consultation process, we focused on 5 key themes, building off the original themes of live, work, and play from the 2024 consultation. These themes included growing together, safe and inclusive communities, getting around, infrastructure for the future, balancing nature and recreation. The summary report provided to Council this evening provides details into these themes and the comments that were received as part of our consultation process. I'll provide a high-level summary for Council's benefit this evening and just to read them into the record. We received many comments, especially at the Public Information Center, on how North Grenville, most specifically is focusing in on Kemptville, is losing the small town feel, and there was a focus on needing to maintain the rural nature of the community. There were comments related to the need for more services and resources as it relates to childcare, healthcare, and social services. Concerns related to road safety for pedestrians and cyclists were raised, including a need for better connection for cyclists between settlement areas, such as between Oxford Mills and Kemptville. Green infrastructure should be explored, including a focus on stormwater management policies to protect against flooding. Recreation facilities were a key highlight and a talking point, including the need for the creation of more indoor recreation spaces to meet the growing needs of the community. Concerns were raised over the impacts of agroforestry and the need for wetland conservation and a desire to protect, preserve, and enhance trees within the municipality with recommendations for an urban forest management strategy. Housing affordability was at the forefront and needing to find the right balance between urban and rural housing developments. Consideration for alternative forms of housing, such as trailers, were mentioned. A request to examine our policies related to as-of-right zoning to encourage a greater mix of residential units. The promotion of mixed-use policies to boost our community vitality on both the residential and commercial side. There were many comments, and we thank the members of the Accessibility Committee for a very lengthy discussion about our accessibility barriers within our community and the need to ensure that we're developing a community that is accessible for all. Comments were received in regards to better active transportation connections between new developments and the existing community, and that we need to look at policies that are better aligned to address the impacts from climate change. There's a strong desire, as noted earlier, to protect our natural spaces, including our tree canopy, and looking at policies related for water conservation to ensure long-term viability of our aquifers, including how those can impact our agricultural operations. We received comments that are looked at developing guiding principles as it relates to respecting the inherent rights of the Algonquins people of the land, moving from a land ownership to a land stewardship mindset, and taking a 7-generation view to ensure that future generations have what they need to survive. That's just a summary of the many comments. We had many valuable conversations, especially at the Public Information Center, where while we did have a formal presentation, there was a lot of opportunity for discussion with residents. Staff would also like to note that we continue to receive more site-specific comments related to areas or specific properties within the municipality, as well as specific policies within the official plan. In coordination with Dillon Consulting, these comments are being reviewed as part of our official plan update. A fulsome report prior to adoption of the official plan will be provided outlining how the individual comments received were addressed throughout the update process. The process does continue to move forward with policy review and development currently underway. It is anticipated that the draft for the public consumption will be available in January with a public statutory open house as required under the Planning Act scheduled for February of next year. Staff continue to direct the public to the municipal website and encourage the public to provide comments to us through our dedicated project email, which is op@northgrenville.on.ca. That concludes my formal presentation. Happy to take questions from council related to the What We Heard report. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Councillor Strachan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and directed, I suppose, to either of you. Doing some math in my head about the number of folks who are involved in the consultation, we're somewhere maybe around the 500 mark based on the people who attended in person. I know that you're receiving other comments from folks via email and via other mechanisms, but I think the in-person engagement was it's significantly different than what you can do by filling in a survey online. Do we have the opportunity to have another open house and another opportunity for engagement to allow folks that maybe were unaware last time or who couldn't make those sessions prior to moving on to the next formal step in writing the formalizing the OP.
Thank you for the question, through your worship, to Councillor Strachian. There is a requirement for a statutory open house where there will be additional opportunity for residents to come and speak to the draft policy document where proposed changes will be made to the official plan policies. So there will be a presentation as to what changes are being incorporated. Information will be provided well in advance so the public has time to read and digest what those changes are, and then they can come to that meeting and participate in that open house as to what they like, what they don't like, what their policy concerns are based on the proposed changes.
If I may continue, Madam Mayor, I would suggest that if we have the opportunity, that it is more than one evening, and that the opportunity be given in a hybrid fashion as well for folks who cannot make it in for whatever reasons. I think the sessions that I attended for the advisory committees where there was hybrid did allow for additional engagement, although those groups were relatively small. I think it opens up more opportunities for folks. Thank you.
To respond through your worship, the open house will be hybrid. We do recognize it's also being held in the winter, so we have other challenges in Canada that may arise that prevent people from physically attending the meeting. I also want to note that the project plan, as it is now, only has the one statutory public meeting. That's all that we're regulatory. We have to have one. If there's consideration from council for additional consultation, I'll need to go back to Dillon Consulting to discuss what the cost of that consultation was, how does it fit into the plan, and do we have to adjust our project timeline to accommodate?
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Megan. I read the summary report. It's interesting, but did you get any feedback about specifically speaking to land use regarding commercial development and or arts and culture facilities?
Thank you for your question, and through you, your worship, to Deputy Mayor Barkley. We did receive some feedback on commercial development with regards to mixed use. So we did have someone submit an email asking for consideration for their land to be considered for a combination of residential and commercial development. It's outside the current urban boundary, but they're looking for opportunities to explore if that's something that we would consider, since the official plan looks to 2051, so planning ahead. We also did hear from the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee. So we have heard about the needs for recreational spaces, not just in terms of sports, but also in terms of theater, in terms of dance, looking for opportunities to provide those dedicated spaces or just encourage linkages between those different community organizations that participate in them to make sure that there's a shared usage of space and an opportunity for growth in there. We did also hear from the public at the Public Information Center that there would be an interest from the community to look at opportunities to link the different community organizations between the hamlets, acknowledging that while there are different arts and culture interests between them, there are some commonalities. So looking to see if the official plan could help support through land use, or does it dedicated land, opportunities to increase that over the lifespan of the official plan.
Great. Thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions? Certainly, Councillor Sullivan, were you going to speak? Yep.
Thank you. I just think that, just to follow up on Councillor Strachian's comments about additional consultation, I think some of the, especially the advisory committee sessions that we had were not very well attended, and for valid reasons. Some of them were just nights that people couldn't come. And I just think maybe an additional episode of, or opportunity for people to provide feedback and hear more about where we're at right now and what's been identified, and further strengthen the case for certain steps or for certain items in the official plan might be a good idea.
Certainly, I love how much we did with the initial phase of the consultation. It was a really robust process, and I think allowed, this being a year ago, many different members of the community to engage So thank you for that pre-work, and it was exciting. And I know both yourself and our director, Ms. Martin, were sort of out there engaging in all sorts of ways at farmers markets and what have you. So that's awesome. That being said, I too share the concern. I mean, I was at 2 of the joint committee sessions, and I attended the Public Information Center. I am somewhat concerned that with only 23 documented attendees, maybe it was 30, it's still a very, very small number of individuals in the community coming out. I can tell you that there were, it was a mix of developers as well as sort of the average resident. And my concern with that particular public information meeting is obviously it wasn't hybrid. So if anyone wanted to hop on, there was no opportunity to do that. Of course, it's very difficult to curate a public information center with that sort of hybrid element. So, recognize there are some challenges there. Going to the one official plan statutory meeting is the next opportunity for consultation feels a little bit premature to me, only in that as much as I think a great effort was made to re-engage certain residents this past fall, it wasn't the same turnout as we had the previous year. And, the official plan is a very, very technical document. So I have concerns, and I look forward to any comments from yourself or Ms. Martin, that those who are vested in changes in the official plan will absolutely be there. We know that. And we know that there are certain interested parties or residents that have had their eye on this official plan for a while. But for any member of our community who has a more kind of general interest, this may not be the right moment for them to come out. Understood, they're absolutely welcome and invited, and we want it to be of sort of general applicability. But I do wonder about having one other session that could be exclusively virtual, recognizing often we don't get great pickup on those. And I think, Ms. Martin, you're correct, they weren't that well attended. But once we get into the official plan consultation, I think it becomes a slightly different conversation. So I think we appreciate, of course, that there was a really good engagement a year ago, of course, in a community that's changing so quickly and welcoming a lot of newer residents. It feels some time ago. I think the themes and the conclusions coming out of that consultation were quite meaningful, and I think have been very helpful to the process. But I do wonder, in advance of the presentation of the official plan, if there's another opportunity to engage with the community, particularly virtually or in a hybrid fashion, just given the low numbers for sort of this latest round, where as much as I think great effort was made, there was very limited engagement. Of course, I know the online survey was an excellent tool, right? And that was well utilized over a year ago. So wonderful to see that. But, this plan, we talk about official plans all the time as being such a meaningful master plan for the community. And it obviously guides council and staff on how we set the standard for what's going to happen in North Grenville for the next few decades. So I don't know who to ask this question to. I don't know if it's Ms. Martin or yourself or Ms. Dunlop. But, that's my reflection this evening. Go ahead, Ms. Dunlop.
If I may, Madam Mayor, just in regards to clarity, in regards to an extra session, is it an extra session the same week, hybrid, that we will go out and get the additional cost for? Is that what we're looking for?
Councillor Strachan?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the CAO, I would suggest different weeks on different nights. So if you're going to do a Tuesday on one week, don't do a Tuesday on the following week, because you're going to hit the same people with the same issues likely for conflicts. And if they're separated by a week, then we mitigate some other issues like where weather or anything like that could come up. That would be my recommendation. But my suggestion is simply to say that one session probably isn't enough. And that what I liked about the hybrid version as well is that as people were making comments, the rest of the room could also hear what those comments were. So it sort of fed into, I think, a more meaningful discussion, even with the smaller groups, because it was you know, you weren't just speaking one-on-one with individuals or waiting until, you know, certain individuals were available to speak about things and repeating yourself, but you could add on to what some other thoughts of other residents may have.
Maybe, Ms. Dunlop, you could take this back with Ms. Martin and sort of see what's possible at this stage prior to the formal presentation of the official plan as per the statutory meeting, and come back to council with a couple of options in terms of what makes sense at this stage of the game. Again, I think the pre-consultation was fabulous, certainly, and a really wonderful effort. But I think we bear the burden as certainly council and obviously alongside staff of wanting to make sure that we don't have someone saying, well, if only I had known, right? So of course you can't cover everyone all the time. People have a responsibility to be well informed, but I think as I understand it, this official plan will look markedly different. And Ms. Martin, I don't know if that's a fair statement. I don't know how much the new draft will look different than previous drafts, but whatever this official plan is, it comes with great consequence. Ms. Martin?
Thank you, Your Worship. To answer your question, in regards to how it will look, it'll be a revised policy based on the current, to match the current policies at the provincial level. In 2024, the province introduced the provincial planning statement, which significantly changed many policies. So you'll see alignment there with those policy changes. Another thing to be mindful is that right now it's out on the Environmental Registry Board right now, consultation on official plans and changes that the province wants to make to official plans. So we're not certain yet, and we're hoping that we know before the new year as to whether there may be something like a prescribed table of contents that the province is going to place upon us, word counts, page counts. We're really not certain as to what direction they're going to take, but hopefully by the time January rolls around, we have that direction and a decision from the province on that matter. And then we'll be providing an update to council, because that too could also significantly impact our official plan policy if those changes are made and we are now bound to a word count, which will then mean we'll have to really hone in on the policies that we have, the wording that we use to ensure that we're effective in relaying what we want to see in the community, but still meet these potential new requirements. So still more to come on that.
And maybe with that in mind, January is a bit of a slow month. People are recovering from Christmas. They certainly are hunkered down at home. So maybe there's an opportunity to invite the community to re-engage one more time while we're sorting out what the technical requirements are for a presentation of an official plan. So I looked, Ms. Dunlop, to you and Ms. Martin to sort of figure out how we can continue to engage the community in a hybrid fashion moving forward prior to the actual presentation. Yes, Councillor O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wonder if we're assuming that we're going to go ahead with one or two additional consultation opportunities, can we make sure that a link to this document, what we've heard, is available for everyone? They can look it over and they can say, oh, geez, this sparked me to think about something else I want that should be included. Because reading through this, a couple of places, I think, oh, yeah, and.
Certainly, I think, I don't know if it's already on the website or the dedicated webpage, but I think it makes all sorts of sense to ensure it's included.
It is public, but it really.
Yes, should be
make sure
linked
that,
and featured as a sort of a catalyst for discussion.
Yes.
Right.
And the other thing is, I'm wondering about the rationale, actually, Deputy Mayor is wondering about the rationale for word counts. I think it's probably to make sure that the key messages don't get all bogged down in gobbledygook. I'm a word miser, and I try to make it clear and put to the point so people aren't spending a long time going through the fluff before they get to the meat of the message. So I think there's good and bad to being too tight with the number of words, but I think sometimes if things can be put in point form, it reduces the word count and yet keeps the message in there very concise and easy to read and not getting lost in the fluff. So I'm expecting maybe the word count rationale is to make sure that it is simple and easy and people will say, yeah, okay, I'll read this.
Okay, yes, I know. The province works in all sorts of weird and wonderful ways, so here we are. So, Ms. Boss, just in terms of the consideration of the motion, I think you can hear that we're looking to Ms. Dunlop and Ms. Martin to work together to propose some additional opportunities for consultation. Does that need to be captured in a motion? I defer to you.
I would look to CAO Dunlop. Can that be taken as direction? Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so then for the purposes of the recommendation, we are obviously receiving a staff report, official plan update, what we heard summary report for information, understanding that there's some proposed timelines in there that may shift a little bit depending on the conversations between Ms. Dunlop and Ms. Martin. Okay, so I'll look for a mover and a seconder, please. Thank you. So it's Deputy Mayor and Councillor Strachian. Okay, great. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Perfect. Thank you. That carries. Okay. Bell Hall, delegation of authority. I believe, Ms. Martin, you're going to start? Or is it Ms. Dunlop? I'm confused. Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this evening, staff are before council seeking some delegated authority as it relates to the Bell Hall repurposing and renovation project. Our current procurement bylaw requires that any amount over $50,000 requires a resolution of council for approval. Given the magnitude of the project of renovating and repurposing Bell Hall, staff are seeking delegated authority to approve contracts and tenders that are over this 50,000 benchmark without having to come to council for approval. We did retain a construction manager, being McDonald Brothers Construction, and as part of that process, they provided a Class D budget estimate for the renovation of Bell Hall. A Class D estimate isn't that refined. This is exactly what it should cost you. It's a higher level budget that's prepared for the project based on the information available at the time, and it does build in a approximate 40% contingency plus or minus on the value provided. So our construction manager, as part of our contract, undertakes our competitive bid process to ensure that we are getting competitive pricing on the various trades and materials needed for the proposed project. And I've had a lot of questions. I just wanted to address this in case it comes up with council. But if there are any local trades that are interested in bidding on the tenders and processes associated with Bell Hall, we will be circulating some general information on as to how you can get in on that bid process. The construction manager does have a website that you can sign up for their tenders and various proposals that they put out when seeking those competitive bids, because we have received some emails seeking that information. Getting back to the matter, as part of the competitive process for procurement, the construction manager reviews the tenders and proposals that comes in and provides a summary document with recommendations. That document is further reviewed by our project managers, who in this case is CADCO, who've been supporting staff along the way with the project. Our project managers review the construction manager's recommendations for both quality and ensure that we are within budget, and if there's any concerns with budget, that those are raised. Given the speed at which Bell Hall will be renovated and needing to deliver the project in a timely manner, staff are seeking that authority to authorize those contracts over that 50,000 benchmark to ensure that we can issue contracts in a timely manner, as the construction manager is seeking a 2 business day turnaround time to ensure that the project moves forward without significant administrative delay. I do want to note that staff receive monthly reporting from CADCO, and we will be providing that monthly update to council. That will include items in regards to activities that occurred within the past month and an update as to where we're at within the budget perspective. So at this time, staff's recommendation is before council. It would seek that both the chief administrative officer and the director of planning or their designate would be both required to enter into agreements as it relates to the renovation of Bell Hall, including subcontracts and signing off on the said invoices, and that that council would delegate the authority in contravention to section 16.10 of our procurement bylaw to allow for us to sign off on those line items that are $50,000 or greater where council approval is required. And then we're also providing that the council directs us to report back to council on a monthly basis as to the project update and the overall project cost as to how everything is tracking. So to that end, that concludes my presentation. I anticipate there will be a lot of questions in regards to this. Both the Chief Administrative Officer and myself are available to take your questions and to work through this, as I know this is probably not our largest project. Public Works usually takes the hat for that, but certainly this is a significant project with an overall budget of $36 million. Not all of that is hard costs. There's other costs built into it, but the renovation piece is a significant portion of the overall project budget. Thank you.
Ms. Dunlop, I think you have something to add in response to a question I asked earlier today.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I do. Some consideration was given in regards to our discussion and the fluidity of the requirements for Bell Hall. Bell Hall is a $36 million project, which is not your typical design, construct, build. It's not a single tender that is submitted. It is going to be multiple tenders under multiple divisions for the completion. Although, yes, we have, through council's approval, hired a contract administrator who will oversee the construction process. The individual divisions within the standard construction process will be independently and individually tendered. They will then be reviewed by both the contract administrator and CADCO before they are provided for a review of the municipality, both the Director of Planning and myself. This is not our typical process here within North Grenville, and the concerns raised had me thinking in regards to a process that would work for both the delegation of authority, the mindset of council, as well as the fluidity of what a construction schedule is. And I am proposing an amendment or an addition to this delegation of authority to be added with the, as Amy mentioned, or sorry, the Director of Planning mentioned, these is for items over $50,000. And I'm adding the caveat that less than 15% above the Class D estimate, which is provided within a proprietary document, the breakdown of the Class D estimates, which get tightened, of course, when we go out to tender. So those are caveats that I would like to add to this recommendation. And should this process be obstructive to the fluid construction scheduling, that we revisit it at the council table at a later date.
So as I understand it, and I'll recognize Deputy Mayor, the delegation of authority would have a caveat that it would be for items over 50K, as stated in the motion, and for which there's less than a 15% variance over and above the Class D estimate, is my understanding. Okay. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To the CAO's suggested amendment, so we're talking about a cap then on when it has to come to council? Is that a cap?
I believe it's more like a threshold. So
Threshold, okay.
if a tender came in that was beyond the 15% variance, then it would have to come back to council. Is that how I understand what Ms. Dunlop has stated?
I see. Yes. Okay. Some of these budget items are huge. They're in excess of $2 million, as I understand. I'd be personally more comfortable with a cap saying that certainly above the $50,000, but at a certain point, if a line item goes above the revised estimate, because I understand Class D estimates are just a best guess, but at some point we'll have a more firm estimate. It won't, as we proceed, it won't we won't be relying just on a Class D estimate, I understand. So I would like to suggest, just for discussion, that there's a cap that if something goes over budget and it's a line item greater than 300,000 or 400,000, that certainly it should come back to council. I understand the rationale behind this, because things happen quickly and you can't, if you have to make a decision within a couple of days, you can't wrangle all the cats together to assess something. But I'm not sure 15% does it for me. Thanks.
Okay, so I see Ms. Martin, and then I want to recognize Councillor Strachan and Councillor Sullivan. Do I have that right? And Councillor Wilson, you're okay? Okay. Do you want to hear from Ms. Martin first? Okay, sure. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just going to add to what the Deputy Mayor has raised. I understand the timeliness. I think that I am in agreement that we should have a threshold, because council does have that responsibility to taxpayers to make sure that the new estimates or estimates that are of a significant value should be evaluated and discussed in a public manner. I have concerns not with the authority to either of you, but simply that we have that duty to have those discussions. And so I don't know what the magic number is, but something along the lines of what the Deputy Mayor has proposed would sound reasonable to me, and not to get in the way of any progress, but that we would get it in front of council in a timely manner to allow for that discussion to take place. Thank you.
Ms., wait, where am I at? Councillor Sullivan, do you wish to speak before Ms. Martin then? Okay.
No, if you don't mind, my comment is not related exactly to the delegation of authority for the amount of money.
Okay, so we'll put you at the end. Ms. Martin.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to note that I did have a discussion today with CADCO, as we do meet weekly, and the project team, overall project team, including construction managers, meet bi-weekly. So we did go through the Class D estimate, as we do realize, and don't want to state numbers just because we want to remain competitive, but there are certain budget items that relate to overall trades, such as the plumbing, and it is a large value because that's just a trade that's going to be engaged throughout the entire process. Same thing with HVAC, electrical. Those are the larger ticket items in the Class D budget because, again, the magnitude of the work that's involved, although it's phased out over the lifespan of the project. Those are items in discussion with CADCO, given their value, that absolutely we can bring to the council table. We have a little more time on those items to review, to provide those recommendations, and come before council and get that overall approval. And those are the items that would cumulatively, over the lifespan of the project, would be over $1 million. So those are the items that certainly we could bring back in a less rushed manner, where some certain items, the smaller items, might need 48 hours turnaround time, or they're looking for a faster turnaround time. Staff's intent would be to bring those larger ticket items in regards to electrical, HVAC, that well exceed $1 million back to the council table for review and discussion.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I'd be amenable to have staff define exactly what that threshold or cap is. Certainly, I wouldn't want to put anything in place that would slow things down and cause delays, because I know a project like this, if one trade has to wait, then it ripples through the entire thing. But having global items, as the director suggests, over $1 million returned to council, however we formulate that, I'd feel comfortable with that. Thank you.
I think it's just a balance between the accountability function that we have and the efficiency with which you need to move, Ms. Martin, in your role in regards to keeping everything moving. So I don't know what the magic answer is. Maybe Ms. Dunlop or Ms. Martin, you have the suggestion. I thought the 15% variance achieved that to some extent, but if some regard it as too liberal or not conservative enough, then I defer to the collective in terms of how we want to be brought into the process. If there is a significant item for which the Class D estimate and the actual tender are obviously nowhere near each other in terms of costing. Ms. Martin?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think in order for the CAO and I to actually, we would want to have a conversation this evening, maybe take a break so we can discuss, so we're not trying to do it while council's deliberating, as to what that threshold is. We would want some direction on the comfortability of whether you want just a dollar value cap or if it's also the contingency in 15%. I do want to recognize that the Class D estimate is built in with about a 40% contingency on either side. So 15% may be quite constraining, and we might find ourselves coming back to the table quite frequently asking for those approvals. I am comfortable with proposing a dollar value cap. I think that from the contingency standpoint won't run us up against that. Like 15% is a small margin on a small number. It might be bigger on some of the larger items. And I just don't want to see us kind of hitting some of those administrative frustrations of just, we're at 15.2%. Now I have to come back to council. There's no leeway. If it's at council's behest, if we would like to take a break to give the CAO and I 5 minutes to discuss a proposed number once council's satisfied with the discussion, and then we can come back and suggest a value.
Councillor Sullivan?
Thank you. Just one last question then. So just to clarify, it's not just one person who would be making the decision to go forward. It would be two people, two individuals who don't live in the same place and take the same holidays, etc. The other comment is, if there is a situation where they need a decision and it's a significant amount of money above what they've been given allocation for, how long can we take to have an emergency urgent meeting if we needed to? Like 24 hours or less?
I think the notice provision, Ms. Boss, for a meeting is 24 hours, or is it 48? She is checking. So I guess that's the time sensitivity. We would need a quorum, right, of 3. We would likely do it virtually, right?
Yeah.
Potentially. So I think there is a bit of an opportunity.
If it came up to that situation where it was really urgent, I mean.
Indeed, you're absolutely right. There is capacity to convene council at any time with the stipulated notice provision that Ms. Boss is going to remind us. I know with our new procedural bylaw, things shifted and I haven't quite figured it out in my head. But I'm happy to take a short break if it helps Ms. Dunlop and Ms. Martin caucus. I'll look for a mover and a seconder. Okay. Yes, indeed. But we'll still do the caucusing. But yes, please answer.
Through you, Mayor, the notification required prior to any meeting is within 48 hours, not including weekends or holidays.
Right. Certainly. Okay. And our procedure bylaw can be updated, right, if we need a little more flexibility. I know sometimes it's a 24-hour stipulation, depending on the municipality you live in, but currently 48. All right. Council, should we take a break so that we can come back with some additional information? I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. I can't do it alone. Councillor Strakian and Councillor Sullivan, I'm calling the question. All in favor? Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks, colleagues. We're back after a short break. As you recall, we were dealing with the Bell Hall Delegation of Authority report from staff, and I believe Ms. Dunlop and Ms. Martin, you have some additional considerations to add. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Director Martin and myself had a look at some of the numbers, the Class D estimates that are provided in regards to the construction divisions, and looking at the items which would have a higher priority of a speedy decision versus the larger products, which, and when I say larger products, I mean $900,000 and above. I asked for the following consideration: that council delegates authority to the CAO and the Director of Planning and Development or their designate, so requiring 2 signatures, to approve expenditures and contracts in exceedance of $50,000 with an upset limit of $750,000, where council approval is required by Section 1610 of Bylaw 5617. So that is our procedural, our procurement bylaw, which would dictate that we have to come back to council. So again, the estimated construction values have been provided in a Class D, which are give or take 40%. We have greater than 7 items or 7 divisions, I'm sorry, that would be that would fit within the range that would require coming back to council approval. So that is my suggestion and recommendation, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, colleagues, how does that sound? Any comments or questions? Councillor Sullivan?
I did have a question, just that the municipal treasurer is agreeable to this and that there isn't any concerns about it. That's my only question.
Okay. So obviously contingent upon the approval, affirmation, validation of the Director of Finance. Okay. Anything else, colleagues? Councillor Strachan?
I think the proposal from the CAO through you, Madam Mayor, seems reasonable to me. So items over 750,000 would have to come back to council for approval prior to any signing. That makes sense to me. For the items that fall in between the 50,000 and 750,000, how will council be made aware of those expenditures?
Through you, Your Worship, the council will be receiving a monthly report that is authored and reviewed through the Planning Department, authored by CADCO in conjunction with our CA, who was hired by bylaw of council. So that will be a monthly reporting.
Okay, great. Any other comments or questions? Okay. So I am going to call the vote. All in favor, please. Oh my gosh, you were so right. It's getting late. I apologize. Who would like to move and second? Councillor Strachan, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was a very early morning, so I'm fading. Okay, we have Councillor Strachan, Deputy Mayor. I'll call the vote again. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on, we are in correspondence. Oh, right, annual operating subsidy, right, of course. Okay, Ms. Martin.
Thank you, Your Worship. This item is rather straightforward. So as part of our budget that we put forth when looking at the overall operation of Bell Hall and municipal contributions, one of the items that was flagged was an annual operating subsidy in the amount of $200,000 for Bell Hall over the lifespan of the project. And we're looking for council just to firm up that commitment by resolution, as it is a condition of our funding agreement, to ensure that that piece is solidified by resolution. I do want to note that this year in the budget, we did include $160,000 for just the general maintenance and operation of Bell Hall. Haven't utilized the entire funding, as we didn't take over the building until early October. So what we'll see is that, annually, now that we own Bell Hall, if we didn't do anything, we'd still have to put in $160,000 just to maintain it. It's an additional $40,000 that will go into subsidizing the operation to help ensure that those rents of those 60 units are maintained at an affordable rate. And that is a pretty straightforward request. If there are any questions in regards to that, happy to answer.
Certainly, it's no surprise that this commitment was part of how we as I recall and understand, how we as a municipality were to be a partner to this project. So I think, Ms. Martin, you're just looking to further formalize this commitment. I know we've made this commitment through council in past, but I'm happy for colleagues, I guess, to entertain it. Perhaps we hadn't fully understood that the timeline was 50 years. Is that maybe the difference when it came to previous discussions?
Thank you, Your Worship. So that is the term of the agreement that we are working with, and that it would have to align with the term of the agreement.
Understood. Okay. Questions? Sorry, I saw hands. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thanks. I note in the director's report that we're looking to put that $200,000 into the affordable housing reserve that we've established. And we've been contributing, as it's mentioned, $75,000 a year. So would there be a bylaw? Maybe this is a question to the CAO. Would there be a bylaw governing that reserve that would indicate that going forward? An additional, what would that be? Additional $125,000 on top of the 75 each year?
If I may, Madam Mayor, the staff report identifies that staff, or that the budget has been annually contributing $75,000 to an affordable funding reserve. It could be recommended that these funds be utilized and enhanced to meet the operational subsidy requirements for Bell Hall. So the reserve funds are supposed to be set up by bylaw with a reserve policy. What we can do is we can bring that back to council if that is the direction received, and review the reserve affordable fund reserve bylaw and policy, and change it to read in accordance with the Bell Hall annual subsidy in the value of $200,000.
I'd recommend that, and I'd prefer that if that's the way forward.
Any other comments? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Apologies for not seeing your hand.
Thank you, through Mayor Peckford. Just a question. It would be $200,000 per year for 50 years. Would we not add an inflation component and anything going past? Like, things are going to be more expensive in 50 years. Would there not? I know I'm not a mathematician, but I'm just thinking.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you, Your Worship, to Councillor Wilson. So there was no stipulation to index it to inflation. In discussions as we're working to secure a third party to provide operation of the facility, we've had some preliminary discussions as to whether the importance of establishing maybe an operating reserve to help offset those costs, because there may be years where, from an operational perspective, the bill, especially in the first few years, we shouldn't really see much maintenance costs in regards to having to fix things. Most things will probably have a warranty, so we might anticipate our operational cost to be less. But as we know, when it comes to facility maintenance, there might be some years where something major decides to happen, and you need to find some additional funds. So we'll be looking at, from a long-term financial planning when it comes to the Bell Hall facility, an establishment of a future reserve, and that may be looking at annual budget. Anything that we may not spend could automatically be deferred to a reserve. We would have to bring that policy back to council for that direction as to how that would flow and function, but it would help address those years where there might be some additional costs that we don't anticipate, because sometimes we don't anticipate things to fail, but they do. So those are other considerations we would bring as the project moves forward.
Deputy Mayor, would you like to add?
Just to follow up with the Director of Planning, are you talking about a capital reserve fund as opposed to an operating reserve? Are they not two different things? You're asking that they speak to each other? Is that what you're suggesting?
Through Your Worship, to the Deputy Mayor. So tonight I'm asking for the operational subsidy, but there should be consideration moving forward from a financial planning perspective to look at both an operating reserve and a capital reserve for the building over time. So that would be something we would bring back at a future date once the project's functioning. We have a few years of data as to how the building's operating, what our costs are, and then make some recommendations as to how do we plan for the future to ensure the longevity of the building.
But for tonight's purposes, we're talking about an operating subsidy. And what I'm hearing you say, Ms. Martin, at this stage, the 200,000 that is foreseen is sufficient, given the other conversations that are taking place with the external funder, correct? Okay. So, but certainly would welcome that other discussion as things evolve. Yeah. Okay. Ms. Councillor Wilson, is there anything else? Okay. Yes, Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Director Martin. My comment is, I guess a comment and a question perhaps, are you able to clarify for me that, or for us, that there will be some active transportation connectivity on College Road to Concession Road where the PXO is, so that since this is a seniors building and we are very into promoting active living and healthy aging, and is that going to be done at the same time so that there will be active transportation links in place at the same time as people start moving in there?
Through your worship to Councillor Sullivan, there are some pedestrian facilities such as sidewalks adjacent to the building that would provide access to the parking lot in front. And we've also provided consideration for that crossing as we are leasing the parking lot across the way, just across the street on Campus Drive, which is closest to the project. In regards to it, like just a clarifying question, are you asking about offsite works beyond the property? Mm-hmm. Okay. Perfect.
I'm talking about like a sidewalk so that people who want to go for a walk, a lot of seniors walk. A lot of them may want to walk to, say, hospital, Riverside Park, go around the walk at Riverside Park. A lot of my neighbors walk a lot down the rail trail. I'm talking they're gone for an hour. So seniors do walk a lot. And if this was a new build, there would have to be, in the design guidelines, it says there has to be active transportation links, sidewalks. So since it's not a new build, it's essentially a new use for an existing building. But I would think that having connectivity, like a sidewalk, at least from there down to Concession Road, so that they can cross at the crosswalk and then get into town or do whatever they want at that end, that there has to be a sidewalk down.
Okay, so
Concession Road.
let's let Ms. Martin answer the question, right? We understand the need and the constituency that will be served. So Ms. Martin, any thoughts? Is it through Public Works that those things would ultimately be contemplated?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. To respond to that question, we can provide additional consideration for pedestrian facilities, sidewalks, or pathways on the site itself. Anything beyond the project site would require further consideration from our Public Works Department as to what those additional facilities would look like and would be beyond the scope of the Bell Hall project. Mm-hmm. But certainly ensuring that on our landscaping plan that we have that facility to get them up to Concession Road is something that I can raise with the project team and provide something to council at a later date when we have more of that kind of, what does the landscaping civil design look like for the property. Right now, the focus is more so on the inside, but we can bring that level of detail back to the council table for discussion.
Okay, fabulous.
Okay, thank you. Just to clarify then, you said you'd look at a link to get them to Concession Road where the PXO is then. Because I really think that needs to be done sort of and be ready when they start moving in. So if that has to be another motion at another time, yes?
Yes, certainly. Why don't we wait for Ms. Dunlop to work out the details of how to create that connectivity, and certainly she can come back during the next couple of months. Obviously, to activate any additional pedestrian facilities in advance of the construction. The occupancy date again, Ms. Martin? The expected occupancy date of Bell Hall is?
Thank you, Your Worship. The anticipated timeline is 18 months from the date of construction, so we're looking about mid-2027.
Okay. Okay, great. So Ms. Dunlop, I think we would appreciate some additional insight into how you would plan for those enhancements to pedestrian facilities in the area, recognizing that it's partly a conversation with campus as well when we're talking about the interior network, but obviously we are partners in this project, so I'm sure there's a way to work together. So thank you for raising it. Thank you. Is there anything else? I believe the motion's on the table, but we have yet to call the vote, right? Oh, I still don't have a mover and a seconder, right? Okay, thank you for that reminder, Ms. Boss. So looking for a mover and a seconder now, that council authorizes an annual operating subsidy in the amount of $200,000 for Bell Health for the lifespan of the project being 50 years. Who would like to move? Anyone wishing to move? Thank you, Councillor O'Sullivan. Do we have a seconder? We have no seconder? Oh, Deputy Mayor, okay. It seems so tepid, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read the room here, okay. Councillor O'Sullivan, Deputy Mayor, okay. So with that in mind, is there any further comments or questions? Not seeing any. I'm going to call the vote now. All in favor? Okay, that carries. Okay, next we have correspondence, and you will see a very long list of correspondence items. I'm delighted because I understand we often receive correspondence, but it hasn't always been featured, so thank you, Ms. Boss, for tackling this and highlighting to us all of the ways in which other municipalities are certainly working to alert us of their efforts. So with that, I think I'm looking for any member to pull an item for discussion or for support at the next council meeting, and I see Councillor Wilson. I also would like to note that I believe I have a late breaking item that I would like to pull in regards to the health unit. But defer to Councillor Wilson. Go ahead, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Peckford. I've never done this before, so bear with me. I'm pulling J7, Conservation Authorities, and this is in relation to Bill 68 that has been approved at the provincial level. We, as a member of South Nation Conservation Authority, we have done some extensive conversation. What Bill 68 is doing is taking our current 36 conservation authorities and amalgamating them and forming now 7 conservation authorities. So some of them are going to be lumped in together, and there's a lot of concern. So what's happening now is this letter from Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry. They passed a motion at their county council as to next steps forward. So we have till December 22nd to comment on this. So I am going to recommend and probably, or ask to be on the agenda for the next council meeting that we bring a motion forward from South Nation Conservation, and I will speak for my neighbor here who sits on Rideau Valley Conservation, that she will be doing similar, and that I'm waiting till we can coordinate together. So we are both, North Granville sits on both jurisdictions, so that's why we need to collaborate. So thank you.
Okay, great. Ms. Boss, you've captured that. Okay, any comments or questions in regards to Councillor Wilson's perspective? Yep, Deputy Mayor.
I think it's great. I've read that letter and I'm in support of what it says. I'm just procedural question to the clerk. This is rather new, and it's been very fruitful because there's something that is a notice from me regarding a previous list of correspondence. But does it require, at this point in time, a motion to revisit this? letter from Stormont Dundas Glengarry, or is Councillor Wilson just signaling that she's going to be bringing a notice of motion at the next meeting? No? I'm confused about the process.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah.
The item of correspondence has been pulled and noted. We will have an item rise for council support at the next meeting. So she's providing advance notice. There was notice given when it was published on the agenda, and we will also have the wording of the motion for support on the next council meeting. So we do not need,
A notice of motion.
we don't need a recommendation to then bring forward a supplementary recommendation.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Strachan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In addition to Councillor Wilson's statement from the South Nation Conservation perspective, I sit on the board of the RVCA, and our regular board meeting is scheduled for Thursday. So I'm hoping to be able to provide the input from that board meeting that will likely align with South Nation Conservation's recommendations, and as a result, also what the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry are proposing. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Okay. So with that, if you don't mind, colleagues, I just want to bring your attention to number 12, which was a last-minute addition to the list of correspondence. As I think most of you are aware, and I think Councillor Wilson for her call on the weekend, which alerted me to some news I hadn't seen, which is the likely closure of the Kemptville Health Unit office as part of the Southeast Public Health Unit. As I understand it, a media release was sent out Friday late afternoon, and certainly as municipalities we had been advised, and in a subsequent discussion with our board representative, it was highlighted that this issue had never come to the board. And as a consequence, I have taken the opportunity to draft a letter outlining the potential impacts on the closure of the Kemptville Health Unit office. In speaking with Councillor Sullivan earlier today, she did note that she would like to see any analysis that may have been done about impacts on programs and services, understanding that sometimes, of course, it's not all bricks and mortar. At the same time, we recognize that the Kemptville Health Unit office plays an incredibly important role in our community and in the region. And on the heels of an amalgamation of multiple health units in recent months, I can say that there is a lot of dismay and concern about this particular announcement. Mayor Robin Jones, who sits on the newly amalgamated health unit as our rep, certainly has been very responsive to my phone calls, and a letter that is now not just signed by me, but also co-signed by the mayor of the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal, Tory Deschamps, reflects our joint concern, and I'm appreciative for Mayor Deschamps' willingness and offer to co-sign the letter, because it shows that this is just not a concern for the community in which the office sits, but neighboring communities. So you may have seen me typing away. I was ensuring that we had Mayor Deschamps' sign off on this letter so I could get it to the board representative as soon as possible this evening. So that's the context, and obviously the outcome of tomorrow's board discussion will be one where certainly we are asking for immediate reconsideration of the closure. And I know that we will do everything in our power as municipalities to insist that at least for the short to midterm, the newly amalgamated health units take the time to understand how health unit offices in various locations across the United Counties do provide unique, valuable, and essential services to a myriad of rural and more urban constituents. So appreciate your indulgence on that, and I'd welcome any questions. but we'll certainly keep you apprised by email over the next few days. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for writing this letter and ensuring the support of Mayor Deschamps. Just as a comment that I'm on the KDH Hospital Board, and I sit on the Quality and Safety Committee. And the Quality and Safety Committee this morning, I brought this up because many people were not aware that it was coming to be, and I asked if they could anticipate and put a plan in place for the impact it would have, like particularly the mothers and babies and that attend the breastfeeding workshops or drop-ins, et cetera. And those immunizations can generally be done in the schools, but they had other services so that's why I would really like to see the data that supports the decision to close this. If it really was not utilized, then it would make sense to not keep it open if it wasn't utilized. But if it is, then absolutely, I'd like to know what plans they'll put in place to serve the people in North Grenville and ensure that we don't lose the services. So thank you for crafting this letter.
Thank you, appreciate it. I should also note that subsequent to the distribution of the letter to all of you this evening, I was reminded by Ms. Dunlop that our public health unit also does regular and significant bacteriological testing of rural private wells, which would be heavily utilized as a service across the region. So yet another reason, I believe, that we need to fight for our local health unit until, to your point, Councillor Sullivan, data clearly suggests that there's no value in this office, and I would be surprised if that was ever the case. I know when we spoke of amalgamation of health units at the United Counties table, the closure of offices and disruption to rural services was certainly never discussed as one of the outcomes of the amalgamation. So I find this particularly distressing, and I'm hopeful that there will be reconsideration tomorrow. Okay, so with that, is there anything else? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
I wonder if any consideration has been made to copying more than just our MPP and Mayor or Tory Deschamps. Could it be?
Yes, certainly
could
we
it be
could,
distributed? Further.
I think you're correct to suggest that we could copy the other mayors in Grenville County who would be impacted, so I could certainly add those as a CC. Of course, Mayor Deschamps has agreed to co-sign the letter with me, but certainly we could add others in the CC line.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor?
Yes, of course.
Is this happening, I mean, this is the Southeast unit. Are they doing this all across the province? Since Mayor Jones is the president of AMO, perhaps she could also reach out to other municipalities who may be affected by the same moves and garner some support or opposition, support for the opposition of this kind of drastic move if there isn't solid evidence behind it.
Certainly something that we can discuss when I have an opportunity to speak with her, absolutely. But I think, Councillor Wilson, you might want to speak to the information you've received, that there are no similar closures in other amalgamated health units in and around the city of Ottawa. I think that's our understanding right now. So, say that again? Into the east, okay. From my perspective, this amalgamation feels like that rural communities are a casualty of an administrative amalgamation that should never shortchange communities that arguably are already underserved when it comes to health care and some of the ancillary services that would not be available through other organizations. So thank you all for your support, and I will absolutely keep everyone in the loop. Okay, so with that, I think we are coming to the end of our correspondence, And we'll move on to motions and notice of motions. And this evening, I would like Deputy Mayor John Barkley to introduce a notice of motion. Is that right, Deputy Mayor?
I believe it's a motion tonight.
Okay.
Or
Would you
resolution.
like, is it necessary that we read the full motion? No. It's been published. So maybe you just want to speak to it or just introduce it, Deputy Mayor?
Well, this came to our attention at the last council meeting that other municipalities have endorsed this Elect Respect campaign, and I think we should do the same. So the resolution is there in the minutes, and I'd ask to have someone second, if I could.
Okay, looking for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. And then I will look for comments and questions. Who are we? Yes, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Sullivan. So any comments or questions? I know that this was initially discussed 2 weeks ago, so I will call the vote. All in favor? Okay, that carries. Thank you. Notice a motion for consideration at a future meeting of council. Are there any notices of motion? Not seeing any. So I'm moving on. Petitions and written communications from the public. I understand that we have received some correspondence, in particular in regards to Gary Lawler regarding Kennedy Road pedestrian safety and detour impacts. So I don't know if council colleagues, if everyone received this correspondence. And I would like to potentially ask Ms. Dunlop how we can address this correspondence at this time, given the safety concerns that were highlighted.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have reviewed the documentation for the Kennedy Road, which is what we're discussing this evening. I know that Kennedy Road has received some assessments from the Public Works Department. Typically, we do not complete these assessments in the winter months due to the snow and ice conditions. It has a tendency to play havoc and removal of any data on our machines. So what I can do is take this back to the Public Works Department for review. We can then report back to council within the next 60 days in regards to some of the items raised and provide a recommendation from the staff level.
Great, I think that would be appreciated. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. There is no miscellaneous or unfinished business. We only have 2 members of the public remaining. Would you like to ask a question? Okay. So we'll go to confirmation bylaw. That is that the confirmation bylaw is attached to this agenda. Be read a first, second, third time and finally passed in open council. I'll defer to you on this language. Ms. Boss, looking for a mover and a seconder. Who would like to move? Councilor Strachan? A seconder, please. Councilor Wilson, thank you. And I will call the vote. All in favor? Thank you. And we are now at adjournment, that we adjourn at 9:60 to meet again at the call of the mayor. Mover to seconder. Councilor Wilson and Deputy Mayor, thank you. Calling the question, all in favor. Thank you very much.